Today the topic is understanding the relevant peritoneal anatomy. Now, previous two speakers they moved around in the entry compartment. The basic aims and objectives for the retroperitoneal structures is to dissect the vascular structures, ureter, nerves, and minimizing the blood loss and tackling the large uterus and the larger uterine masses. Now, the bony pelvic anatomy of our importance is the sacral promontory, pelvic brim, and the retropubic area. Now, and the pelvic floor. Now, we'll see the little bit of anatomy. These are the cardinal ligament, then the vesico-uterine ligament, uterosacral ligament, and space that is the paravesical and retropubic space, which the previous speaker just now explained, and the pararectal spaces, then the vesico-uterine space and the rectovaginal space, and few vascular important structures. These are the external internal iliac vessels, the internal iliac and its branches, the ureter, and few nerves. Those are the genitofemoral obturator nerve, hypogastric nerve, and the genitofemoral nerves, and the structures at the sacroiliac joint. Now, retropubic space and the paravesical space is useful for incontinence and prolapse surgery, just we have seen. The anterior compartment, these are the retropubic and paravesical spaces. If you open the peritoneum just above the bladder fundus, we'll have the retropubic space, and when you extend it laterally, you will have the paravesical spaces. Now, like this, here we can have the bladder, the urethra, up to its urethral opening down, then the bladder neck, and retropubic space, and the paravesical spaces. Now, for posterior compartment, the pararectal spaces. Here, the applied anatomy is usually we used to deal with these spaces in cases of deep infiltrating endometriosis, rectal nodules, or the uterosacral nodules, and these spaces of importance are the lateral and medial pararectal spaces. Then the rectovaginal space and the sacrum, the presacral vessels and nerves, and the presacral space. Few important structures at the presacral space. These are the inferior mesenteric artery and middle sacral artery as well as vein. Now, understanding the basic anatomy, the vascular anatomy. The basic vascular anatomy of our importance is the internal iliac, uterine artery, and the structure we deal with always is the ureter. We are always worried regarding the uterine artery. If you see in the left side video, the uterine artery is saved up from the cornal end up to the uterine knuckle. And in the right side, with a single neck, you can expose the uterine artery and do the clean dissection. So we'll see the little bit of vascular anatomy. For our importance, it's the internal iliac. It first gives the posterior division, which applies to the superior gluteal, lateral sacral, and iliolumbar. Then the anterior division gives the inferior gluteal, pudendal, then the middle rectal, uterine, vaginal, obturator, supervesical, and it continues as the medial umbilical ligament. We'll see the relevant anatomy in the dissected view. That is, this is the internal iliac artery, then the inferior epigastric, then the middle rectal, then the uterine, then the vaginal, then the vesical, and just behind that vesicle, there will be the obturator. Then the anterior division continues as a medial umbilical ligament. Now, the medial umbilical ligament, this is the internal iliac artery and the ureter, and this is the lateral pelvic space. This space is divided into two by the uterine artery, that is anterior, that is paravesical space, and posterior, that is pararectal space. Now we'll see few demonstration approaches. So for superior approach, one has to start through this imaginary triangle bounded by the round ligament, external iliac, and the IP ligament. When we start the superior approach, just start dissection at this imaginary triangle. The key structure first we can see is the external iliac artery. Go parallel to that, you will have the internal iliac, and the first oblique structure crossing is the uterine artery. And for the inferior approach, the key structures at the sacroiliac joint is the IP ligament, internal iliac, and the external iliac, and the ureter. When we start dissection here at the base of the IP ligament, the key structure first we can see is the ureter. You can see the peristalsis there, and when you go parallel to the ureter, then you will have the uterine vessel, which is the first vessel crossing the lateral pelvic space. Then this is the anterior approach. Very rarely it is used. So this is the inferior approach. peritoneum opened at the base of the IP ligament. You can see the ureter and peristalsis go parallel to the ureter. Towards the sacroiliac joint, we'll have the internal iliac artery there. Here, then the first structure, which is crossing the lateral pelvic space, is the uterine, and the second will be the vesical artery. Now, once we dissect this uterine nicely, and when we come little bit of posterior to that uterine vessel, we'll have the middle rectal here. This is the middle rectal vessel, and still we come posterior, we'll have the inferior gluteal, which again gives the pudendal vessel. Here we can have the inferior gluteal, and here will be the posterior division. Then again, we'll come to the uterine vessel. Just anterior and behind this, there will be the vaginal artery. Here, this will be the vaginal branch, and this is the superior vesical branch. And at the end, the anterior division continues as a medial umbilical ligament. Now, here we are not using any energy source, and if the dissection is clean, we'll have all the structures and very clear anatomy and nice planes. And at the end, the surgery should fulfill the criteria for the minimal invasive surgery. If we approximate the peritoneum, you'll find that this will completely fulfill the criteria of minimal invasive surgeries. So everything is closed. Now, after artery, we'll consider the veins. This is the one and the second uterine vein. You can see the ureter, cervix, and the cut pedicle of the uterine artery. Now, after taking the uterine vein, little bit of anteriorly or upwards, you'll have the hypogastric artery, which gives again anterior and posterior divisions, and another branch of the uterine artery, that is the ureteric branch. Now, this is a beautiful image. Here you can see the uterine artery, uterine vein, and the structure in between. This is the ureter, and this is nothing but the ureteric tunnel, or you can call it as water under bridge, or the sandwich between the uterine artery and the vein, and this is the ureteric tunnel. If you remember this image, you will have a clear idea regarding the ureteric course at the tunnel. So this is the vesico-ureteric junction when you dissect the ureter further on either side. Then the external iliac artery, the genitofemoral nerve and obturator nerves, and these are the fossa, those are the obturator fossa and the pelvic floor. Now, after completing lateral dissection, when you come medial to the ureter, when you lift up the ureter, we'll have the uterine veins. So this is one uterine vein and the other. With the due course, these two uterine veins join together to form a single vein. So this is one and this is the other, and just posterior to that, there is the hypogastric. This is the hypogastric artery, which supplies to it has anterior and posterior division, and anterior division again gives branches to the uterine vessel. Once you clip and cut the uterine veins and dissect the ureter further, another important structure is the vesico-ureteric ligament. Once you cut it and lateralize the ureter, you will have the vesico-ureteric junction. You can see the clear dissection on the right side, similar dissection on the left side. Here is the uterine pedicle, this is the ureter, this is the uterine vein, and this is the ureteric tunnel. While dissecting the tunnel, one has to just put the forceps open it, put it open it. It will give its own way. If any confusion, then just wait for the peristaltic movement and just follow the peristaltic movement. If you follow it, you will open the ureteric tunnel and the structure above which is only the vesico-uterine ligament. And once you cut it, you will have the vesico-ureteric junction. So this is a very clear anatomy we can have. And being a pelvic surgeon, we have mostly a stable anatomy. While dissecting the lymphovascular tissue, this is the obturator fossa, obturator nerve, and here is the pelvic floor. So this is the relevant anatomy, and at the end, we can have all the structures together. Now, after completion of all the anatomical questions during our UG days from the first year, at the end, we used to write the applied anatomy or applied knowledge for the anatomy. And if you'll see the applied anatomy, if we know the anatomy, retroperitoneal anatomy better, we can go for such a larger masses with fair safety. Now, if you see these are the single case, this is having this much size of fibroids, 22, 20, 7.2 and 4.4 in a single case. What will happen? The completely the peritoneal cavity is filled with the fibroids. And if you put the trocar just below the GP sternum, still the trocar will fall towards the pelvis rather than falling towards the head end, because there is no space in the abdominal cavity. You can say this. Now, if you see the fibroid, this is at 22.4, 20 centimeters, 7.2 centimeters, 4.4 centimeters, and collectively, if you'll see the size, it is around 54 centimeter size. And you can see the vascular engorgements also there. So in these cases, the relevant anatomy has to be clear. And you can see the fibroid, the sizes, the myomas are completely above the aortic bifurcations, so that you can see that it has occupied the upper abdomen. Now, for the posterior cervical fibroid or the lower uterine masses, one should go for the uterine vessel. If you clipped it at the start, we'll have the clear planes. Here we can see the uterine engorged uterine vessels. Still, we have a very clean planes. And while dissecting this posterior cervical myoma, we'll have the clear planes here. Bloodless field, nice planes, and fair septi. So this is the complete PLH for the posterior cervical fibroid. If you see here again, a large, huge posterior cervical fibroid, the uterus is sitting as an iceberg at the top of the cervical myoma. We knocked out the uterus, and if here you see the uterine manipulator is not sufficient, and this is the worm forceps. The length of worm forceps also is finished there. This is the internal os, and the complete large myoma is there. You can see the vascular engagements, but still we have a very clean, nice field, because we have clipped the vessels at its origin, and we can have a very nice clean field.
Doctor, we have 2 minutes remaining.
Yeah, 3 minutes. Yeah, this is the anterior wall myoma. If you see very nicely, we can do the myomectomy for other myomas also without compromising much of the myometrium and the endometrium, because you can visualize these margins very clearly, and this is very useful in cases of infertile patients. So friends, always the road is not that straight to go and ligate the uterines at its origin all the times, or to dissect the retroperitoneum, but don't get locked with the fear. Just we have to balance the decision and do the needful. So don't do anything lesser or more than what is required, because it will increase surgical morbidity or per se any morbidity. If the plan doesn't work, change the plan, but not the goal. Here also, if you see, the person is not changing his wife, he is changing his position. So best revenge is to improve yourself. That's it. And just to conclude, the knowledge of anatomy is must while tackling the larger uterine masses for the radical surgeries. Isolating and ligation of the uterine artery at its origin not only reduces the active blood loss, but also reduces the potential injuries to the ureter and the bladder by providing the clean blood field. Dissection of the ureter helps to maintain its vascular integrity and prevents the electromechanical injuries. And bottom line to say is the meticulous approach, proper planes, clean dissection, well-equipped theater and suitable anesthesia with a very good team are the key for success for tackling such cases. So thank you very much.